who have written to Cap 50 wishing us all the best in today's rally. But the most important voices belong to us, the Canadian people. For weeks now, constituents have been copying us on emails sent to Daryl Kramp and have written numerous letters to the editor. And I would like to read some excerpts representing the voices of those present and of those who couldn't be with us today. Just because I couldn't. A voter from the New told Mr. Kramp, "Since you always speak about the priority you place on listening to your constituents, it is a bit surprising how disinterested you seem to be in this one issue, which has disturbed so many of us." A constituent from Marmor had this to say to her MP, "Mr. Kramp, it never ceases to amaze me that your party has such unmitigated gall to simply change the rules to suit your needs. Beware the wrath of the taxpayers." In a letter to the editor, a Sterling resident who is here with us today wrote that she is incensed by the Prime Minister's decision to shut down Parliament. That he did it twice, both times to save his political skin, is further confirmation that he is a one-man show. A Belleville resident who has also joined us today wrote in his letter, "Mr. Harper may delay the operation of the committee investigating the Afghan detainee issue, but he won't be able to evade the consequences."
Yeah.
Also from Belleville, this comment. I like this one. Yeah. "Decision to prorogue not really a big deal? Try telling that to my grandfather, a Nortel pensioner. Ask him if sitting in limbo for another 2 months while the government shelves potential legislation to protect his pension, as well as the pensions of many others, is no big deal." And finally, this suggestion from a local resident: "During the Olympics, let's show the world a democracy in action. Mr. Harper, put Parliament back to work and clean up your own acts." Before I call on other speakers, other voices urging our MP to do his job and represent his constituents, all of his constituents, friend and foe alike, I'd like to show you something. This flag, this very flag, has flown atop the East Tower of the Parliament of Canada. It was kindly loaned to us by a constituent who relates its incredible story. The flag you see behind me is the actual flag that flew in Ottawa on October 30th, 1995. That was the day of the Quebec referendum, when by a whisker we held on to what Pierre Trudeau called the dreams of this beautiful country that will never die. We rally today in defense of parliamentary democracy and against abuses of power that threaten our values, our beliefs in fair play, honesty, transparency, and above all else, our democratic right to representation. I'd now like to call on some other speakers. First, I'd like to know if we could hear from Andy Hansen representing the Pinter Labour Council.
We spent the morning putting the tickets together and then decided the best idea was to let people right off the start. Because this is about democracy, it's about grassroots, and it's about the issues that affect all of us. I was in this office earlier this week talking to Daryl Kramp about the issue of pension. And from our perspective in Labour, there are two key issues that this government needs to be working on. One, as Brian has said, is pension protection. People are being ripped off for their pensions, and this government does not seem to care. His answer, Daryl Kramp's answer was, it's in the works. We're working on it. Well, I don't see how you can be working on it if you're not at work. Now, I too would like an Olympic-sized holiday for 3 months. With pay, and very nice pay, I might add. I mentioned to Daryl Kramp that unemployment in this area is a serious problem. They need to be working on unemployment across the country. His answer to me was, unemployment is not an issue in our area. We haven't been hit by the downturn. What world does he live in? Certainly not this riding. Unemployment is a huge issue here, and they need to be in Parliament working on those issues and deciding what is our government going to do. Right now, we don't have a government. We have a bunch of people making decisions as they see fit. There is no debate. We need our democracy back, and that's why we're here today. Our next speaker, I'd like to call on Bob Jason, representing the Catholic Teachers Parish.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you again for coming. I understand we're over 200 strong, and that is amazing.
Nice.
A couple of weeks ago, when we sat down and started organizing a public rally to come out today, we honestly didn't have a clue how it was going to turn out. 20 shows how it was going to turn out. We are angry, and we are glad to see that. As Brian said, my name is Bob Jason, and I represent the Catholic Teachers Union in this area. And as you've heard before, in less than 3 weeks, 97 countries are going to convert upon Canada to take part in Vancouver 2010. I can't think of a more exciting time to be Canadian than in my own backyard and my own backyard. And I would love to be in Vancouver on February 12th and 28th. But there's only one little problem. I've got a job. I can't go. If only I'd had the hindsight to run for federal politics 18 months ago. I could have easily taken a holiday and lived with everybody else. But that's not the way we do things. And that's not the way I was raised. I don't think that's the way people in 20 regions were raised. I was raised to be a responsible member of society. I was raised to not to shirk my own responsibility. I was raised to provide for my family and be an honest, contributing member of the community. And for all these attributes that my parents so lovingly instilled in me, we allow our elected officials, people who are responsible for representing us, we don't allow it, sorry, they allow themselves to take a 2-month hiatus. We allow them to completely shirk their responsibility to the Canadian people to take that extended holiday. Well, they won't call it a holiday. Like you heard Brian say, they call it a time to reacquaint themselves with their constituents. I say shame, Mr. Harper. Shame. Shame. I think, call it what it is. Admit that you have some very difficult questions to answer in the House of Commons in the next couple of months. You have the Afghan detainee situation that needs to be dealt with. And you don't want to deal with it. So the easiest thing to do is to walk away and call it a holiday. How I try to sum this up is it is a kid to me, to a child who doesn't like the rules on the playground, so he's going to take his bat and his ball and he's going home. Spoiled children do that, Steve. Spoiled children walk away from the playground, not the people we elected to lead the country. Today, in 50 cities across the country, there are rallies just like this one, telling Mr. Harper to do the right thing and get back to work. No other employee would allow their employee to take an extended 2-month paid holiday. Don't allow the people that we elected to represent us to do it. Mr. Harper, recall the House and get back to work. Perhaps we need to look at this from another angle. You see a sign out there that the Crogan government is costing $50 million. Let's put another spin on it. We have 307 elected officials. 269 of those are making $155,000 a year. 37 of those are making $230,000 a year. And one guy at the top, who I want to put on, we'll call him, is making $310,000 a year. So to probe the government for 2 months is equivalent to wasting $10 million of your money. What a terrible waste of taxpayer money. Please tell Mr. Harper we won't stand for it.
No way.
And let me just say, I guess if he's gonna probe the government, we should ask Mr. Harper to perhaps probe their pay as well. And don't forget about the 30-some-odd bills that were on the floor in December, that all of a sudden at Christmas break fell off. Were they unimportant things that you merely stuck in and just to kill some time until